All righty, welcome back for another episode of Two Plane Sports. We're here today for another episode of recruiting, which it seems like everyone loves to talk about, and I think that's our favorite thing to talk about on this show. Today, we're going to be talking about a recent kid that put OU in his top five, and three reactions to three visitors from this weekend. Granted, there's a lot more visitors than we can cover in this short video, but we just picked three of some of the most pressing and interesting takes and maybe some impressions that we got from them. But before we get into it, we just want to say we really appreciate it. We've got a goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We just crossed 4,100, so we're still a long ways away. Hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like us or follow us on Instagram, and then find us on Apple and Spotify. And I'll put it to you this way. The more of you guys subscribe and keep sharing this channel, the more we're going to be able to give away tickets in the fall. As we grow, we'll give away more. And like we did for the spring game, we gave away eight tickets. I don't know. Maybe if we keep getting bigger, we're going to keep giving more away, and maybe you'll get a pair of tickets this fall. So hit that button, send it to a friend. Let's keep growing this channel. So the first guy we're going to, yeah, I mean, it's the truth. So first guy we'll talk about is Joel Starlings. We have never talked about him on this. 6'5", 310-pound defensive lineman from Richmond, Virginia. He's a 2023 four-star, number 231 overall, and number 33 defensive lineman in the class. The reason why we haven't talked about him is because he was once committed to Michigan, decommitted from them, and then OU offered in early February, I believe February 7th, and immediately OU over the last 2 months has just launched into his top five. His top five consists of obviously Oklahoma, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, and Virginia. So everything that's pretty regionally close, excluding Oklahoma. Everything else is just right in his backyard. He's announced his commitment in November. He has an official OU visit on June 10th through the 12th, so the weekend after the barbecue. And I really think, he also has a relationship with Damon Harmon and Kelvin Gilliam. And my initial takeaway from him, he's got a great size at 6'5", 310. Looking at his top five outside of, the other four schools, I feel like Oklahoma, this is a very winnable top five. I don't see how they couldn't beat out a North Carolina, even though Mac Brown's a great coach. And then you got Shane Beamer. He's doing good things at South Carolina, but just the level of the program and the brand and just the competition, Oklahoma is a better program in general overall. So you get him on campus for an official in June, and he's announced his commitment in November, so it's going to be a little bit. But I feel like OU's in a really great spot. Brandon, what do you think about the implications of him?
I love his size, first of all, 6'5", 310. That is definitely building towards the second plane that we're going to need. Loaded up with all the big boys. I love that, love that, love that. You mentioned his top five, which I'm going to get into in a second. But I think first thing, so Cavante Henry was also at one point in time a Michigan commit who decided he got to Ann Arbor probably and was like, never mind. Like, I think maybe the theme is once kids, they commit because they had a good visit or whatever, and then maybe they get to Ann Arbor and realize that they have to live there for 4 years or 3 years, and they're like, no. Maybe it's a theme that they're getting the hell out of Ann Arbor and going to Norman, and I like that theme. Let's bring, especially on the D-line, like Cavante Henry and Joel Starlings, bring them all to Oklahoma, I think. And then with Starlings, so his size is great. Plays one of our favorite positions on the D-line. Then, yeah, as you mentioned, you look at his top five with Oklahoma, West Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, or Virginia. Three of those are shit. In Virginia, North Carolina, and whoever else I can't remember, in West Virginia. And then you got, I can't talk bad about South Carolina because I love Shane Beamer. I think he's doing great things there. So I think it's a two-team race, but I think, ultimately, as you mentioned, the brand, and we are without a doubt the best of the five in his top five. I think he's got to make the right choice, hopefully. We'll see.
And I think Shane Beamer is the guy to beat for this guy's commitment. He's doing something right down there. You brought up Cavante Henry, who I was going to bring up as well. I think it all stems with Sean Newa's departure from Michigan. Clearly, that's someone that those kids wanted to play for, and for whatever reason, they weren't accepted at Southern Cal, which is their loss. I mean, Camonte Henry was a 4-star player in his class. I know he started to go down in ranking towards the end of the recruiting cycle for that 22 class, but still a talented guy with some upside. And then this guy, I know you said we haven't talked about him very much, but it's because it seemed like he was a Michigan lock. Again, he decommitted when Sean Newell left. So, and then USC is not included in his top 5. So again, I feel like we've got the biggest brain for sure, but he's had a lot of connection with Shane Beamer in the Gamecock program. It's just going to be, I guess, going to be a race for the next, 7-8 months to figure out who's going to win. If it's going to be Oklahoma's brand that's going to help propel us to being his school, or the connections he's already made, because we are a bit behind with him. But again, like you guys have said, the brand of Oklahoma can help us catch up. It's just going to be, can he come out enough to build relationships with the coaching staff? I know the staff's probably going to visit him a couple times, but South Carolina is significantly closer to Virginia than Oklahoma is. So
yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, the proximity could definitely play a factor in this. I mean, the fact that OU offered in February, went into his top 5, and he hasn't been on campus before, that has to, that's the brand right there. With his official, I hope he gets on campus one more time after his official visit from the summer. And if he does, then we know that it's it's really serious. Even if he doesn't, OU might be able to win out on one official and some visits to his high school. It's just going to be something that we're going to have to watch. And someone that I think would be really great for this team and a great filler on the roster. I mean, at 310 pounds going into your senior year of high school, along the defensive line, that's significant.
Has he scheduled his official visit with OU?
Yeah, June 10th through the 12th.
Okay, because I saw that he scheduled the one with South Carolina, but it's far. Mm-hmm. It's into October, so I'm sure that he's got plans to visit everyone at least once outside of his official.
Yeah, I think he's got everyone set up except Virginia. I think West Virginia is getting the 3rd through the 5th of June, and I can't remember the other 2, but Virginia is still working on getting their officials. So it's going to be interesting to see, something to watch. Hopefully Kelvin Gilliam and Damon Harmon can really sell him on the program and convince him to come out. So, all righty, we'll move on to the next kid. We've talked about this one, Payton Kirkland, a little bit. I feel like it's been a few weeks since we've talked about him, but he's 6'6", 345 pounds. He's an offensive tackle from Orlando, Florida, 2023 4-star, number 209 overall, and number 20 offensive tackle in the class. He visited OU this weekend, I believe, for the first time. It's really coming down to a battle of OU, Florida, and Miami, but I really think it's OU and Florida for him. He's been on Florida's campus like 4 times unofficially since September. He has officials set for OU of the Champ U barbecue, and then a visit to Florida the week after. And then the week after that, he's got a visit set up for Michigan State, and he's announcing his commitment on July 23rd. For his first visit coming on campus to be here at the spring game, again, I just want to reiterate, I really think this spring game is going to pay dividends down the road. Whether it's landing Payton Kirkland or not, I don't know, but he came away from this weekend like extremely impressed. I mean, it seems like every kid that was there is like, oh my gosh, this is a spring game and there's 75,000 people here. There's programs that they might be visiting that don't even have 75,000 seats in their stadium. And I mean, I really think this is having huge implications. It seemed like he had a fantastic visit. My gut is telling me, though, it's going to be hard with the proximity of Orlando to Gainesville and how many times he's already been on campus. And it seems like Florida's got a lot of momentum. And they made a lot of progress this weekend. And this official visit is going to be huge in June before his commitment in July. OU's made a lot of progress. They need to go see him another time or two between now and then, and they need to get him on campus to keep the momentum going. My gut is telling me it's going to be Florida, but I wouldn't be surprised if OU could flip him. I don't know, Jose, what do you think?
The spring game definitely helping with him. The fact that he visited during that time was definitely a plus. Josh Bates is also doing a hell of a job trying to get just every top offensive line recruit to at least put Oklahoma in consideration, if not completely commit. And I know that I think Josh Bates put out a graphic. I'm assuming OU made it for him with him and Kirkland together, lined up as if they were ready to block. And it was pretty cool. Obviously, he's trying to build relationships with these guys, be friends with them. Hopefully that stuff pays off. I think it's good that he's trying to be a leader within this class. Because normally we see like a quarterback do something like that, or in last year's class, a linebacker, Kobe McKenzie. So it's good that we're starting to get these big personalities in other spots where, help is going to be needed at some point, even though we do have some good talent at the offensive line. It's going to start thinning out as guys graduate and go into the league. We got to replace them with guys like Josh Bates and Jake Taylor, and hopefully Payton, so that we've got, I think Caden Green, still potentially a guy that we can get in the 23 class. So if we get a lot of top offensive lineman recruits, Coach B definitely should get some credit for it. Probably most of it, 55%, but give the other 45% to Josh Bates, because that guy's working his ass off on social media to get these kids' attention.
The Bates effect. We talk about it all the time on the show. Just a little different Bates here, but I agree. I think Josh Bates it really is cool to see a guy who's committed, just doing his best to get people to join him, and especially on that offensive line. 6'6", 345 pounds in high school. That's legitimately scary. Like, that is a huge human being. We talk about Jaden Gibson. That's like Jaden Gibson, but who weighs 345 pounds. That's huge. Like, that is a big, big boy. Load him up, put him on the plane. You really hope that it happens. Brum's talking about Florida, and, it makes sense, the proximity thing and all that stuff. But, I mean, I've repeatedly talked bad about the Florida Gator program on the show, and I'm just going to do it again because in reality, the place sucks. Like, Gainesville, I think, is the armpit of Florida. It's garbage. You don't want to be there. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. I think Florida sucks. That's what my gut's telling me. He's not going there. To use your phrase, Brum. And another thing about Kirkland, and I talk about this on the show all the time too, and I'm going to keep beating the dead horse. I know a couple people have commented that they don't really like when I say this, but I'm just going to – he has the Alabama stamp of approval, which to me is a thing. It means something. You can't deny the fact that Alabama is, without a shadow of any doubt, the best program in the country the past decade or so. So if Alabama wants you, you're probably pretty damn good. And I'm going to rock with that too. He's got the Alabama stamp, and Gainesville is a piece of shit. Boom.
That's a take right there. I mean, it's probably not far off, though. I've never been to Gainesville, so I don't know. Maybe we'll have to make a trip there whenever OU goes to play in the swamp.
Would you rather be at the swamp or be having to drive 20 minutes to play for the U?
Do what?
I'd rather be playing at. Would you guys rather play at the swamp or play for Miami? I think I'd rather be a Gator.
I'd rather be a Gator just because they have their own stadium. I mean, at least they have that.
Yeah, definitely be a Gator in that scenario.
Like the better Florida program. Definitely don't want to be a Seminole.
No. I mean, Florida is the best program in the state of Florida, and I mean the swamp's iconic. So I mean, I don't know.
Bad.
Recently, yeah. So, I think Kirkland. I think they made a lot of momentum. They need to make a visit or two to see him at his high school, see him practicing and working out, and get him back on campus for an official. And shoot, you never know. I mean, the next guy we're going to talk about is Derrick LeBlanc, and LeBlanc. We've talked about him a lot. He's another Florida product. He's 6'4", 270 pounds, defensive lineman from Kissimmee, Florida, or as like I once said, Kissimisi. 2023 four-star, number 81 overall, number 8 defensive lineman in the class. He has a commitment date of July 23rd as well. So Kirkland and LeBlanc are going to announce on the same day. LeBlanc returned for his third visit since January. All of them have been 3 to 5 days unofficially. So his family, him and his family are paying for these trips. He's been to Florida 6 different times since January. Obviously, it's a little bit easier for him to get up to Gainesville than it is to Norman. He has another visit scheduled to come back in in for the Champ U barbecue in early June, and he's going to have his official taken here pretty soon, like in July as well. So he's got 2 more visits coming up. So he'll be on campus a total of 5 times. I'm sure Florida's getting a couple more visits as well. But here's the deal. I really think, obviously the spring game was awesome. His family, from the visits he's been taking and the amount of time and travel costs, I don't think money and travel is a problem for his family. I'm sure they're financially well off, and they're paying their own way to come up here. So if they're able to come up 4 or 5 times in the matter of 6 months on their own dime, I don't feel like coming up to Norman for a few games in the fall is going to be very far-fetched for his family. And if you're willing to shell out that much money to go visit a campus this many times, the interest has to be real. And I really feel like OU, after this past visit, is starting to take over. I mean, there's no way you can't tell me you're going to be on campus a half dozen times in 6 months and pay all this money to go and not seriously want to be a Sooner. I mean, he's so familiar and comfortable with the team. I know he's been to Florida a lot, but I just feel like it's a lot harder to get to Norman, and yet he's still showing up all the time. And I think that, you follow the visits, and I just think that OU they're going to just win out. I think you make a few visits to go see him at his high school. I'm going to say it. I think LeBlanc's going to be a Sooner this fall. Jose, what do you think? Not this. Oh, yeah, I guess this summer he'll commit.
I mean, I hope you're right. I looked at his Twitter a second ago, and like you said, him and Kirkland are announcing the same day, along with, I guess, another one of their friends, and Malik Bryant, who's a 5-star linebacker, I believe, in the 23 class. Oklahoma doesn't seem to be on that guy's radar, but the reason I brought it up is because if they're planning on doing this together, I feel like they might have influence over each other. And that's why I'm not too sure in saying, all right, Oklahoma's in the school to beat for LeBlanc, but they're definitely in a good spot, right? I think Todd Bates has done everything he can do so far to get him to continuously come back, always has a good impression of the school. But Florida is a school for all of them. Miami is a school for all of them. And if you look at their 247 profiles, Florida they've been crystal balled to Florida in the last month. I believe LeBlanc and Kirkland have. I'm not sure about Malik, but he's about to announce his top 6 schools here in the next week, I believe. So,
yeah, I just took a look at Bryant, and he has no crystal balls in right now.
Yeah, so I mean, that guy's probably the enigma out of the 3, but still, I think Florida is definitely the competition with both of those guys that Oklahoma's looking at. In the summer, or I guess May and June, are going to be the months where Oklahoma, the coaching staff, has to put a full court press to make sure that these kids don't go to the swamp, because they're very talented players that are going to be very good to have in the next couple of years, especially moving to the SEC again with Starling, how big he is, and with LeBlanc, how talented he is off the edge. Definitely going to be guys that are going to be needed once we make the move to the SEC, because these guys aren't going to be missing home for that long. They might play 1 year in the Big 12, and then they'll get to visit Florida one time as a Sooner.
Yeah, I think, as Brum mentioned, the fact that he's lives in Florida and he's been to campus 3 times since January it's a good sign. It's got to be a good sign with, as Brum mentioned again, a couple more visits planned so we can get to campus 5 or 6 times. The interest is obviously, it's very, very real. The spring game is a good thing. With LeBlanc, he, again, with the size thing, the 6'4", 270, you love to see that as an edge player. He's a guy who had 17 tackles for loss last season, 15 sacks. Very, very dynamic, a playmaker. He's stamped. And it's the Bates effect again here. We talked about it with Josh Bates, but this is the actual Todd Bates effect. The more he comes to campus, the better you're going to feel, because Florida to Oklahoma is not quite as easy as Seattle to Oklahoma. Florida's kind of far, where Seattle's just down the street. So the fact that he's making the trip that many times is good, and the more times he gets to campus, the better we're going to feel, I think.
Yeah, Seattle is right around the corner, a quick drive, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, Jose, you bring up a good point. They're all doing, they're all committing on the same day. Could they all pair up or team up and go to Florida together? They could. And I've been following recruiting now pretty closely for the past 3 or 4 years, and I always thought that was more the case where a lot of kids that are friends, they would team up and go to the same school together, and that does happen. I just feel like a lot of times it just doesn't, for one reason or another. I mean, it could happen. It very well could. I don't know, but maybe I'm being just too optimistic. I'm not going to say that OU has a huge edge, but I don't know. They might win out in the end. I don't feel great about Kirkland, but LeBlanc might be able to convince him. Hey, come on,
Yeah,
come play for me. I mean, the same way.
I agree. I think if Oklahoma's going to pull one of the three, or I guess one of the two, because again, Malik Bryant isn't really looking at Oklahoma from what I could tell. It's going to be LeBlanc that Oklahoma gets to snag out of Florida. Hopefully, he's got some influence on Kirkland, and I would expect them to probably visit for the barbecue together, if that's going to be an official visit that they plan, or at least when they do plan their official visit, probably come together before that July commitment date. Because it seems like with it being in July, they want to have whatever school they're going to, they want to make it known before their senior football season. And I would expect them to probably be early enrollees if they want to have that security before beginning of high school senior season.
Yeah, and talking about Josh Bates, he's putting in a lot of work with Kirkland, but he's also been putting in a lot of work with Caden Green. But going back to LeBlanc, it feels like LeBlanc and Bates and Green are always there on campus together as a trio. I know LeBlanc is a defensive lineman, but I feel like they all have to really know each other well. And maybe with Green maybe committing, and you've got LeBlanc maybe committing, and Bates, you might be able to coax Kirkland into committing. I don't know. So they just all seem to be on campus together all the time. So hopefully that ends up playing well for the Sooners. Something we're gonna have to watch. Hopefully he's not at Florida like every weekend leading up to his next visit for OU, but just something we're gonna have to watch. But as of today, I'm gonna say Oklahoma. It just seems like he's just been on campus too many times and going out of his way to be there. The last guy we'll talk about today is another terrific defensive player, Colin Simmons, 6'3", 210-pound edge player from Duncanville, Texas. 2024 5-star, number 19 overall, and the number one edge player in the class. Some sort of a reoccurring theme in the 2024 class. It seems like every or majority of the top defensive line talent is interested in Oklahoma. Just for some stats, because I don't think we've talked about Simmons before, or if we have, it's been very briefly. 68 tackles, 12 sacks, 3 forced fumbles as a sophomore for Duncanville, which Duncanville is a pretty good sized school down in Texas. Sooners offered March 8th, and he visited this past weekend. And it seems like the visit was great. Again, the crowd played a factor into it. He's looking to get back on campus. And then you had Bates, and I believe Chavis swung by his school this week. So, again, OU's talked to Colin and seen Colin 2 times in the last 7 days. I really think that OU's going to get him back on campus multiple times. We've talked about Nigel Smith, another 2024 defensive lineman. He's from Melissa, Texas. I really think these North Texas kids, now with Todd Bates and Venables being so close, that's going to be a recruiting hotbed, and they're going to be able to get these kids on campus more than anyone else can at the caliber that Oklahoma is. And it's 2-3 hours just north up 35. It's going to play out really well for Oklahoma in this case. I'm not going to say Simmons is going to be a Sooner because, I mean, this is his first visit, but it seems like he's legitimately interested, and OU might be able to form a terrific defensive line haul in the 24 class. Jose, what do you think about on Simmons?
So Brandon said this, I think, almost perfectly whenever we were talking about the spring game, and Brum, you said it too. Like the impact that the crowd has is being shown in this recruitment. And Colin, I don't believe, was at the spring game, but he tweeted out how excited he was to see so many people there, and that he was excited to be on campus in the summer. So I mean, the impact of the fans, if I'm right or wrong on if he was there or not, doesn't matter. But the amount of fans supporting these guys definitely impacts the recruitment. And he's just one example, one of the top players in his class, saying that, all right, these are going to be fans that are going to support me throughout high school, throughout my college career, once I get to the NFL, because I mean, we all love Baker Mayfield. We all love Kyler Murray, CeeDee Lamb, all the guys in the NFL. I think today we're going to watch the draft because we want to see where Oklahoma players go in the first round. Hopefully we get a couple, but I mean, we love them no matter where they are or how good or bad. You know, once they get to the NFL level, we still support them and root for them. And hopefully this guy sees that. I think he has. And you also had a good point with, now that Todd Bates is there and Venables is there, where we're definitely more of a defensive minded program. We're going to have a lot more of these top North Texas kids look at Oklahoma. Hopefully it's not just at the defensive line position. And I know that I love the defensive line. That's my favorite position on the field to watch. But if we can get some of those top corners and safeties to also look at us, not going to be a bad side effect either. So hopefully Colin does get to come back here soon and plan some visits with Todd Bates.
Joel Starlings is another guy who we started the video with him. He also tweeted about how crazy the 70,000 plus for the spring game was. So yeah, I'm going to point to player tweets, recruits talking about the spring game all the time too. When fan bases say that it's not important how many people show up or this, that, and the other. No, the outcome of the game is not important. You're right. But as far as a recruiting standpoint, it's 100,000 million% important to be there. And Oklahoma fans, we did a hell of a job showing up, being there, and creating a pretty dope atmosphere for recruits to look at. That 24 defensive line, we've talked about it a bunch. It has the potential to be ridiculously scary. And I think it's the name of the show. It's Two Plane Sports for a reason. We want offensive line and defensive line. And Jose, to his point, talking about, and I'm with him, we definitely want those 5-star corners and safeties and linebackers and all positions to start looking at us. But if you're a 5-star corner and a 5-star safety, whatever, and you see you're surrounded by a bunch of 5-stars on the defensive line, you're going to want to play there because those guys are going to be hitting home, creating havoc in the backfield, making the quarterback throw out bad passes. And then, you're getting interceptions, you're getting pass deflections, you're getting good looks. Everything in football starts up front on both sides. Colin Simmons is a guy you mentioned, 12 sacks, 3 forced fumbles as a sophomore. That's really good. 6'3" is really good as an edge rusher. But he's at that 210-pound frame. But granted, he's only a sophomore, so there's time for him to kind of get bigger. Size, I think height-wise, he's perfect. But I think if you're going to play edge, especially in the Southeastern Conference, and we're talking about guys like Payton Kirkland, who's 6'6", 345 pounds. You're going to want to get a little bit bigger than that 210 if you're going to play edge. But also at that 210 spot, you can be, instead of a hand-in-the-dirt type player, you can be like an outside linebacker type edge rusher and just beat him with speed. So obviously whatever he's doing is working with 12 sacks as a sophomore. So hopefully it works out. And proximity on this one plays, as you guys mentioned, it's a huge advantage for Oklahoma on this particular kid.
I'm going to correct myself real quick. He was definitely at the spring game, but I know he was raving about the fans on Twitter as well.
Yeah. And seeing him, he also visited, I think, with Umazulu. I think that's how you say it. I mean, there's a bunch of kids that we didn't talk about in this video. And I feel like on our next video that we're releasing on Monday, we're going to probably cover a lot more. There's just we only have so long to cover so many people. But Brandon, bringing up, just kind of hit home on the whole atmosphere. While it was great for the spring game, this is kind of my final thought. We have to, as fans, show up like that every single game. Like Venables said, you only get 7 times a year, counting the spring game, to pack the Palace and all that stuff. That has to be the new standard. While we're holding these football players to a higher standard and everything else and expecting more out of them, OU has to be held, us as fans have to be held to that standard as well. And so I challenge everyone to, show up to a game or two if you can this fall and just stay the whole game. not leave at the third quarter, even if it's a blowout either which way.
But I got to say one thing to that. I love Oklahoma more than or just as much as the next guy. I'm a huge OU guy. However, that first game of the season, if we're playing, was it UTEP? Is that what it is? Yeah, it's UTEP. If the score's 73-3 in the fourth quarter, it's 102 degrees outside. I'm sorry. I love you, Venables. I love you, players. I'm not going to be there anymore. I will show up, and I'll be loud and proud while I'm there. But yeah, when we're up 70 in the fourth, and it's 106 degrees outside. I got to do what I got to do.
I guess I should clarify because I being students, we were there for every game. I mean, I went for 5 seasons because I went 4.5 years, but I felt like there were a lot of games where in the third or fourth quarter, it was still a close game and people were leaving.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
But if you're up 70, it's 105 degrees outside. I personally, if I was Brent Venables, I'd be like, I didn't really even want to be here at this point anymore either. Guys, go home. Yeah. That's just me personally, but
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah. Anyway, I just had to say that, great job on the spring game, but let's keep it rolling in the fall. Brandon, do you have your in a video challenge for the people?
Yeah, so it is Thursday, April 28th, the day we're recording this. It happens to be the first round of the NFL draft. So it's going to be a kind of a 2-part question. Really just one. So if you have a favorite team, who is it? And where do you want to see our Sooners end up? I personally want to see Perrion Winfrey. I'm a Dolphins fan. We don't pick in the first round. So all I want to see tonight is I would love to see Perrion Winfrey somehow crack into that first round. And I think he's got a pretty decent opportunity with the pro days he put together, the combine he put together. So where's your favorite team at, and where do you want to see our Sooners go is the question for tonight. We got Perrion, we got Benito, we got Isaiah Thomas. There's a decent amount of Sooners in this draft. Where would you guys like to see them end up?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what, this is just a bold take. I haven't really read too many mock drafts. I wouldn't be surprised if Perrion goes to the Chiefs. Just a gut.
I was going to say that. They're pretty weak at the defensive
back.
Line position, and they pick at the end of the first round. That's probably where he would go.
Yeah, which I'd be fine with. Or if he falls in the second round, I hope the Patriots scoop him up. So we'll see. But
Patriots could always go backwards.
Yeah, well, that's
Oklahoma guys.
That is true. They do. So anyway, that's all we've got for today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, share the video, turn the notification bell on, follow us on our social medias, like us on Facebook, find us on Apple and Spotify, and we will catch you guys on Monday, probably for another recruiting video. We'll catch you next time.